Hello and welcome everyone to the succession planning webinar presented this day by Jason Eisenhut, Vice President of Human Resources at Employco USA. For those that don't know, Employco USA is the largest workers' compensation loss prevention, claims management, and payroll service provider to the trade show industry's I&D segment. Employco's services include full payroll processing, which includes the filing of union reports and making the necessary contributions to the union health and welfare and pension funds. You should know that EACA members not only receive discounts from Employco for their payroll services, they typically save significant amounts of money on workers' compensation costs. I'm proud to have Jason back with us again. Jason has presented previous webinars for us on things like controlling workers' comp costs, controlling healthcare costs, and employee engagement. Today, the topic is succession planning. With that, I will turn the floor over to Jason, and thank you, Jason. Welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, it's a pleasure. Employco's got a great relationship with EACA. One of the benefits are training and webinar sessions just like this. We're happy to be in the exhibit and trade show industry. It's kind of a really nice sweet spot for us, helping our clients in the trade show and exhibition industry with lowering their workers' comp rates and payroll or union fringe reports or training in HR and benefits. It's a wide range. So as Jim mentioned, my name is Jason Eisenhut. I'm the Vice President of HR at Employco. We are based in Westmont, Illinois. It's a suburb just west of Chicago. And although we're based in Illinois, we've got clients across the country in 49 of the 50 states. So the one we don't have is Alaska. So if ever there's a company in Alaska, we'd love to get you and get that 50th state for us. But with that, we will get started. So as Jim mentioned, the topic for today is succession planning. And unfortunately, we've had, it's something near and dear to my heart. We've had a couple clients over the last few years come to us and express their frustration of having to go through an unexpected departure of a key employee of the organization. And actually, one of those organizations that have gone through this unfortunate situation is a trade show company. It was someone in the I&D space. They had a key salesperson leave the organization unexpectedly, and they just weren't ready to, they weren't expecting, they also weren't ready for the person to leave. It took them about 4 months to recruit the person's successor, and another several months to get the person up and running. And in the meantime, the owner of the business, which is also the president and CEO, had to backfill and visit clients. And there was key clients they were trying to visit and get a hold of, and who was the relationship, who was the contact at each. It was just a mess for them. So talking to them after the fact, now we've gone through succession planning with them to get them up to speed. Another one of our clients in a different industry lost a key employee, a CFO. And although they did have a couple other accountants in the department, these two other professionals were just not ready to backfill and step into the CFO's role. So as the screen shows, succession planning is the process of identifying high potential employees, evaluating them, getting them up to speed, getting them ready for future advancement, and making sure there's as minimal disruption to the business as possible. And whether or not you have a business of 10 employees or 10,000 employees, succession planning can be really advantageous to any size organizations and can be formal, informal. Maybe one of our recommendations is to start off informal, just make it easy. Let's get the basics and get it up and running for kind of off the shelf, get it running pretty quickly to get something for some of the key positions. Maybe that's a key salesperson, maybe it's the president, maybe it's the CEO. Okay, continuation of the succession planning. So as I mentioned, it's a way to evaluate which of the key positions are important to your organization. So what happens if that person unexpectedly resigns? What happens if you want to transfer that person to another area of your company? What if there's an involuntary termination? So there could be a wide variety of reasons, something that you can plan for, and obviously several reasons that you just don't expect to have a loss of a key employee. So the kind of the three overall steps, and we'll go through each of these in a little bit more detail. You start off by determining which are the critical roles of our organization. So which, and you can start off as broad, you can name one or two key roles, or you can get as broad as you'd like. And then after we've identified the key roles, who are possible successors? And in this presentation, you'll hear me talk a lot, use the term high potential. There's also another term in the industry called acceleration pool. But successors, high potentials, it's all going to be synonymous in this presentation. And then you provide those people with the skills and training to be ready for a next step. One stat that I thought was pretty interesting, I'm looking at it now, although the evaluation of who to pick as a key role or key person to get ready for their loss could be a vice president, could be a CFO, could be a top salesperson, but it also could be the owner or the president of the company. So I don't know if we'll have anyone listening to this that is actually the owner, or maybe it's an operations manager and you can relay this to an owner, but the stat that I thought was pretty interesting is 37% of current business owners will exit the organization within the next 10 years. And that's actually their plan. So 37% of current business owners plan to leave the organization within the next 10 years. So this succession planning can not only apply to vice presidents and maybe a second tier, third tier level employee, but also can apply to an owner or a president or CEO. Okay, so key roles and required attributes. The first step is to identify the current and future key roles. So the key there is the future key roles. It's a little bit easier for us to identify the current roles. Maybe again, that's a vice, in this screen, it's a vice president of HR, or a CFO, or a top salesperson, or chief operations officer, or maybe it's a city manager in a key market. You identify those current roles, and on the future side, what do you think your organization is going to look like in 10, 20 years? Maybe today there isn't a lot of CAD, computer-aided drawing needs, but maybe you think the industry is going to change in 10 years to more computer-based design. Maybe even more than it is now. Maybe there's something that you just don't expect. So the evaluation of the industry trends, where you think you want to have your organization, maybe you want to grow your organization, and you will need a vice president of HR. It's just not a position you have today. So kind of that future state and the current employees can be two different evaluations of what a key role could look like. Once you have the roles, you identify the knowledge, skills, and abilities, the KSAs. So what is involved, what key attributes for that position. In this example on the right side of the screen, we have Vice President of HR. So I just listed that because I'm a little bit more familiar with that type of a role. So maybe if we write down some of the key parts of the role, what would be needed in that type of person. Maybe it's 20 years of HR experience, and we need to make sure they have experience in training, legal employment issues, and maybe total compensation is a really important part of our organization. We also want that type of a person to have excellent project management, communication, a bachelor's degree, and some type of certification or designation. And maybe it's a Chicagoland-based organization like ours where there's mostly driving to Illinois and Wisconsin. The idea here is not only coming up with the attributes that you need for that position, but also to write them down. It's a little bit more of a pain in the butt to write them down, but that way, the more you can have these in writing and a little bit more formal, and it's also helpful to get others in the organization to weigh in on this, the more likely you're going to eliminate bias. So it's just a natural human tendency to have the like-me bias. So if I get along with the person and they're maybe a current HR supervisor, generalist, and we get along, they're just like me, maybe I'd be a little bit more biased to say they're ready for the promotion or the right fit when there's someone else in the organization who might be a better fit, and I've got these all in writing, and when they're in writing I can actually see a little bit easier to avoid some of these bias to evaluate who might be a good fit for the role going forward. Okay, so we've identified Vice President of HR, whatever role it might be in your organization, as a key role within our organization. So in this example, we have Olivia Smith, who's the incumbent. Olivia is currently the Vice President of HR. And maybe she's 63 years old and she's already told us that she plans to retire at 65, so it's going to be another couple years. And when we look at people in the department, maybe there's an HR generalist, maybe there's a HR supervisor within our organization, maybe there's a payroll person, maybe there's just an office manager. Maybe there's no one ready right now. So in this chart, there's no one we feel, excuse me, that's ready right now to take Olivia's role if she were to leave. But because we have a couple years, we think Tracy and Joe could be ready with the right training and coaching to take Olivia's spot when she leaves the organization. Michael Smith, he's a little bit further behind. He doesn't have as much experience as Tracy and Joe, so we think he's 3 to 5 years out, but he still has the right potential, given the right training, given the right experience to get that, but he's going to need a little bit more time. And maybe we've left Bill off this chart. Maybe Bill is currently a compensation specialist, and he's really a numbers guy, but bad with people. Not the right. We don't think he'll ever have potential to take the vice president role, so we'll leave him off this chart. Regardless of how much training and coaching there would be, Bill's just not the right person ever for this type of role. You'll also sometimes see during this part of the evaluation something called a 9-box grid. We don't recommend that for most organizations. So what a 9-box grid is, there's 3 rows, 3 columns, basically 9 boxes that evaluate one axis. There's the current performance, whether or not they're currently performing below expectations, meeting expectations, or exceeding. And then a different axis, it's how much of a potential they have for future positions like promotions. It's a little too complicated. With how busy everyone is today, especially at the executive level, the more complicated it is, the more likely you'll have someone disengaged and not just want to kind of blow off the whole succession planning process. So we recommend, at least at the first or second year or stage of the process, keep it a little bit basic. Just leave something like this, avoid the 9-box grid, and take it a little bit more basic. Okay, so we've identified those 3 people on the other chart as high potential employees. So we want to make sure, and then the reason that they're high potential is they're probably good performers right now and they've got good potential. So we want to make sure that we communicate with them. We can start by asking them for their career plans. Maybe Michael doesn't have any aspiration ever to be a manager or an executive of a company. Maybe he's just very much happy to be a contributor and not any type of manager or leader of an organization. And maybe with the right, maybe he just needs a little bit of pushing to be ready. Maybe it's just push him out of his comfort zone, or maybe he really would not like it and would leave the organization had he been promoted into an executive level role. But having these ongoing conversations with our high potentials really will help. And obviously, if we're having conversations with the high potentials, we're also talking to the incumbents. So this is where it gets a little tricky. With Olivia currently the vice president, we want to make sure that she's not worried about we're finding her replacement and it's inevitable. We're doing it because we don't think she's doing a good job and will be exiting soon. I mean, in this case, it would be a little bit easier because Olivia's told us that she might retire in a couple of years. But I think it's good for any level of the organization, even if the person's 40 or 50 years old, no sign of retiring anytime soon. If they're a key employee of your organization, who knows if they might suddenly develop a sickness or injury or suddenly resign from the organization. Either way, we're talking to the incumbent, letting them know we really value you, you're a really valued employee, you're a great asset to the company. There are no plans for you to leave. We want you to stay here for another 30 years. You're a valuable asset. We have great plans for you in the future, but we do need your help to get someone else ready in case something unexpected happens. So we have conversations with the high potential employees, ask for their career plans and interest level in key roles. And when we have these conversations with the high potential employees, that's also letting them know that we really value their contributions to the company. That's another way that we're hopefully going to retain them, increasing the chances that we'll retain them. We're continuing letting them know that you're a valuable part of the organization. We hope you stay. And would you be interested in a future role? And if yes, we're going to come up with some plans to get you ready for it. So that plan to get the right person ready for the next role is a high potential employee profile. So it might be a little bit hard to read on the screen, and my contact information will be the last slide of the presentation, so feel free to reach out to me if you'd like a copy of this. We also have a kit that goes in a little bit more detail. But basically, this high potential employee profile, as for the employee's name, this is the three people on one of the other sides, not Olivia, the incumbent, but the people who could take her role in a few years. So as we talk to Michael or the other two people, what are your career goals in the next 1 to 2 years? What are your career goals in the next 3 to 5 and beyond? What kind of education or other training history have you had? Any special skills, developmental experiences? And at the bottom, we'll come up with a training development plan. So maybe Michael isn't quite, he just needs a few more years of experience, but also Michael's never gone through compensation. So he doesn't know commission plans and union fringe rates, how to pay an executive at a certain level, what salary ranges. So we're going to send Michael to a few classes. Maybe that's at a university, maybe it's a seminar, maybe there's coaching one-on-one with the current Vice President, Olivia. So there could be cross-department coaching and training, or formal education like at universities or seminars. But the nice thing here is, let's say we get it in writing, Michael's aware of it, the high potential person, we get the training going, we assign a kind of an owner of the process, a timeline, and make sure we kind of stay on top of it to get Michael or whoever the high potential is ready for that advancement if the position were to ever open up. Okay, is it a major issue? Unfortunately, a lot of companies just don't think that. As we mentioned, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we've had a couple clients just in the last couple years really go through a couple pain points as they've lost some key people. The percentage of organizations listing succession planning as a major issue. Only 19% thinks it's a major issue of all firms, small, mid-sized, large. In my opinion, even if you're a company of 10 or 100, succession planning should be something that you think is a major issue, because you never know when that unexpected health issue comes up, or someone resigns unexpectedly, or retires unexpectedly, moves out of state. You never know when something could happen to a key person. Another fun stat that I found is 27%, so almost a quarter, even a little bit more than a quarter, 27% of companies have been negatively affected by poor succession planning. So it's not real good odds. I wouldn't want those odds if I was running an organization, that 27% chance that if I don't have a good succession planning process in place, I will be negatively affected by that. So with that, my recommendation, just to kind of wrap everything up, is to start small. Start basics, maybe identify 1 or 2 or 3 key positions in the organization. Who do you think could be ready for that role internally? How do we get that person developed, that high potential person ready to take the role if something were to unexpectedly happen? Like could be a key salesperson, could be a key city manager, could be a CFO, you never know, operations manager. So what are the key positions in your organization? Start small, how do you get the people ready, and then kind of create some training plans around that. And it could be any type of position, could be any type of company.
Thanks, Jason.
Just my recommendation is just get ready as much as you can, because unfortunately if something bad happens, you just won't be ready for it. Prepare as soon as you can. So again, my contact information is on the screen. My phone number is 630-286-7341, and my email address is jeisenhut@employco.com if you have any questions.
Team guy goes down, they know automatically who's the next one up. And they do a very good job of that, and they go down several levels. And it occurs to me that in our industry, particularly in our I&D segment, a lot of the succession plans may have as much to do with those in the field as it would be with those in their home office. I'm wondering if you guys have ever looked at the types of skills and expertise that might need to be present in the field as compared to more of an administration position as a tool for our members to use.
Yeah, so the other slide, now go back quickly, that walks through the evaluation of the high potential profile. This could be used for office, field-based employee, a tradesperson. So really, each of it really will depend on where the high potential person is and what the future role could be. Whether that's maybe it's a tradesperson now and we see them potentially as a city manager or whatever it might be. Each role might be a little bit unique, but we could use something like this regardless of the type of position.
That have been around in this industry for years are starting to look at retirement, and obviously the challenge will be finding the next generation to come in and fill the shoes of those key positions. We reached out to an organization called Skills USA. We'll be working with them on reaching out to teachers and students at technical and trade schools, introducing them to the industry as a potential career. And I imagine that will develop an entirely another segment to the succession planning process, we should hope. But that's some other information I think is important within the scope of succession planning and making sure that you're looking forward to do the best job you can to secure consistency in your business as the days, months, and years roll along. Lastly, for everybody that is tuning into this after the fact, obviously this is a recorded session. We, EACA and Employco, are working together to put together a cocktail reception at Exhibitor Live. All our members are welcome.
That's great.
Information about that will be going out in our show floor buzz. But if you'd like to just make a note of it now, it'll be Monday, March 30th, 3:30 to 6 p.m. in the Shangri-La room in the Foundation room in Mandalay Bay. So we look forward and hope to seeing you there and asking any questions you might have about succession planning or anything else that Employco has a great depth of knowledge about. With that, I'd like to thank Jason for his contribution again today, and look forward to the next time we're reaching out to you with more information to help you manage your business in our industry. Thank you, Jason.